Like many legacy institutions, the WHO has become mired in bureaucratic bloat, entrenched paradigms, conflicts of interest, and international power politics.
The WHO lied to us during the pandemic. They taxed us, lied to us, and censored us. So why would you ever give them the power to do that again? So while the US have left the WHO, Keir Starmer and the UK are doubling down on our commitment to the WHO. Why would that be? What's the relationship between the WHO and the UK? And what possible advantages are there to belonging to an organisation that's failed so dreadfully at the one time when you might have needed a World Health Organisation? They not only dropped the ball, they inflicted the jabs. So let's get into it.
Members of the World Health Organization approved a treaty to avoid the mistakes of the COVID-19 pandemic in future global health crises. It will require countries to take steps to prepare for and respond to future pandemics, with the goal of making medical supplies more accessible across the globe. But there are still a few issues that have yet to be resolved, and the treaty won't go into force until they have been agreed upon. One item still on the table is the creation of a new pathogen access and benefit sharing system, in which countries share samples and data with drug makers in return for access to vaccines and medicine. The United States is not expected to ratify the treaty under the Trump administration, which could undermine its effectiveness. US negotiators left the treaty discussions after US President Donald Trump began the process of withdrawing from the WHO when he took office in January.
So how did we get here, and is there a way out? This is a report from The Telegraph in the UK. They call him Sir. You don't need to be reminded of that. Keir Starmer, if it was up to me, you wouldn't give people like prefixes that aggrandise them. You would remind people. Keir Starmer stabbed Jeremy Corbyn in the back, did nothing about Julian Assange, wouldn't name what a woman was when that meme was occupying the minds of the culture, handled Southport very badly. Also, there was a point where he knelt down before someone and got a sword plopped on either shoulder. Maybe it was those arsonists. Keir Starmer has signed an international pandemic treaty that gives the World Health Organization the power to recommend lockdowns. Oh, right, because they did such a great job of it last time. The UK is one of dozens of countries to join the agreement designed to help the body coordinate the international response to any future pandemics. The treaty has wide-ranging implications for how the world would deal with the COVID-style outbreak, including by encouraging better disease surveillance and the sharing of vaccines and other medications. I remember when sharing needles used to be a bad thing. The WHO said it was a victory for public health, science and multilateral action and would protect the world from future pandemic threats. However, critics said it would give the organisation too much control and influence, including by recommending specific policies like lockdowns and mask mandates. It will not prevent the UK from following its own pandemic response and cannot legally bind ministers to a particular strategy. However, opponents said the treaty risked allowing unelected health officials to influence policy in the UK. Donald Trump's administration, which has not signed up to the treaty, announced earlier this year that the US would be withdrawing from the WHO. On Tuesday, in a video played to health officials during a summit in Geneva, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Mr. Trump's health secretary, said other nations should see the US's exit as a wake-up call. Let's have a look at that.
Like many legacy institutions, the WHO has become mired in bureaucratic bloat, entrenched paradigms, conflicts of interest, and international power politics. While the United States has provided the lion's share of the organization's funding historically, other countries, such as China, have exerted undue influence over its operations in ways that serve their own interests and not particularly the interests of the global public. This all became obvious during the COVID pandemic when the WHO, under pressure from China, suppressed reports at critical junctures of human-to-human transmission and then worked with China to promote the fiction that COVID originated from bats or pangolins rather than from a Chinese government-sponsored research at a biolab in Wuhan. And indeed, the WHO has, since its inception, accomplished important work, including the eradication of smallpox. Too often, though, WHO's priorities have increasingly reflected the biases and interests of corporate medicine. Let's return to the core focus of global health and global health security, back to reducing infectious disease burden and the spread of diseases of pandemic potential. I urge the world's health ministers and the WHO to take our withdrawal from the organization as a wake-up call. It isn't that President Trump and I have lost interest in international cooperation, not at all. We just want it to happen in a way that's fair and efficient and transparent for all the member states. We've already been in contact with like-minded countries, and we encourage others to consider joining us. We want a free international health cooperation from the straitjacket of political interference by corrupting influences of the pharmaceutical companies of adversarial nations and their NGO proxies.
Do you notice the tendency of Keir Starmer to bend over and take it, whether it's from the EU or the WHO? On whose behalf is he governing? Why does he always seem to want to get down on his knees or bend over before these bureaucratic bodies? What on earth is he hiding? What do they know that we don't know? There's additionally Keir Starmer's capitulation to the EU, which we've talked about this week. It's extraordinary how often he's handing over power to unelected bureaucracies, often in direct defiance of the mandate of the electorate. Keir Starmer and the Labour Party are no longer governing on behalf of the British people. That's not a claim that can realistically be made. There's clearly another agenda. In the same way that we learned that Joe Biden, through cognitive decline, senility and cancer, couldn't be doing the job that he was nominally and explicitly supposed to be doing, we now know that he's essentially a kind of puppet for other interests. It just became more explicit, obvious, and evident in the case of Joe Biden because he was so old and senescent. But the simple truth is this: anyone in that model of government has similar flaws and similar ties. And even if they're not so cadaverous and ludicrously Weekend at Bernie-ish, they're still being puppeted. You know, it's almost like someone's got their hand inside them and is operating them from within because they are certainly not free and autonomous and at liberty to express what they want to be able to express. I pray for Keir Starmer. He's a human being and he's a prime minister, and it's a shame we can't live in a world where you can just respect political leaders. But the simple truth is that we now know that they represent global and corporatist interests and are plainly controlled and manipulated by forces and resources that we're not able to understand and will never understand until the files are disclosed. Stephen Fry seemed to have a Nostradamus-like insight and foresight when it came to politicians of this nature. Here he is in, I think, probably the early 90s, parodying precisely the kind of phenomena that Keir Starmer exhibits so boldly.
Each taxpayer has got a good deal here. Honda have, if you'll just let me finish, Honda have given us satisfactory undertakings to the effect that they will make no massive changes to the structure of government for at least 6 months, and that their only real social alterations involve converting Wales into a 7 million hole golf course and the replacement of all houses and flats in Great Britain with Perspex living.
Have you tried...
Yes, I have tried one of the pods myself, and believe me, they are extremely...
What about unemployment?
Oh, what about unemployment? People are obsessed, aren't you? Every time a new idea comes along, some change which might do this country a bit of good, it's always what about unemployment? Change the bleeding record. Yes, there will be some unemployment. Honda have pointed out, for example, that we do not perhaps necessarily need up to 625 members of Parliament in the House of Commons. They're investing in a new laser-operated governing system.
So this country will have no elected...
Oh, just rejoice, can't you? This is good news for Britain. This is a vote of confidence in our country. It just proves what this government has maintained all along, that we are an attractive proposition for our customers. This is a good deal for Britain. A good deal. A good deal. This is a good deal for Britain. This is a good deal. This is good, G-O-O-D-D-E-A-L, for Britain. This is a good deal. Good deal for Britain. This is a good deal.
There you go. Just keep repeating it until you believe it. Keir Starmer has capitulated to the EU and now to the WHO. He's reversed the decision around Brexit and seems keen to repeat the bizarre and punishing experiment of the pandemic. If you're one of the people who lost a business or lost a loved one as a result of the disease itself, which was caused by government ineptitude and misuse of taxes, albeit American taxes or German taxes, BioNTech or British taxes when it came to the AstraZeneca jab that was developed in this country, then perhaps you'll have concerns about giving the WHO that amount of power ever again. What on earth's going on in this man's life that he can't focus and govern properly? I pray that he receives the support that he needs and the redemption that all of us deserve. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments and chat. Remember, we'll be back on Monday the 9th streaming at these times. In the meantime, if you can, stay free. Free speech is under attack, mine particularly, yours and everybody's. We have to fight back. And how are we going to fight back? Rumble. You get Rumble Premium, you don't only get great content creators like old Rusty Brandstein, AIPAC supported Zionist, you also get Mustafa Brandishahad. He loves Islam. Also, you get old Russ. He loves Trump. And then you get Russell. He's a big fan of Kamala Harris. How many people do you need on one channel? You gotta get it. Not only do you get me, you get Mug Club with Crowder. You get Glenn Greenwald. He broke the Edward Snowden story. What do you want from people? You get Kim Iverson. It's all available to you in the Rumble chat. For a limited time, you can get 10 of your American dollars off, and you can use crypto, baby, using the promo code APAC. No, using the promo code BRAND. Visit rumble.com/brand and get your discount today. Together, we can turn the crimson tide of foaming propaganda and stay free together. Click the link.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.